Nico, I'm so excited to get to chat with you today. You're doing so many cool things in the space. And I mean, I know you're killing it on so many different levels. And clearly, you're not an old geezer, you're a young guy. So it's exciting to really be able to hear your story. And so I'm going to zip it and ask you, what's your story?
Cool. Well, it all began, I'd say like when it really began, I was kind of in high school, right? So I was having a bit of a rough patch in my life. I mean, I don't really like to talk about it, but it's like, let's just get it out there. Um, yeah, just having like a rough time. My family wasn't doing so hot economically. And, I've always just been coding, right? I've been coding for 10 years since I was really young. So I was like 10 years old. Um, and, that, that was like really defining, right? Just like understanding money. And we came from Venezuela too. So I really understood inflation and what a tyrannical government can do. And, just the power that the government can have, right? Just taking over like the media and just really taking kind of control of how people perceive things, right? And Venezuela wasn't so successful, right? Because, everybody kind of knew who they were dealing with. But, this all had a very like deep impact in my life, just dealing with economical situations here in Canada, personal and financial family ties, and then just having kind of like a rough time in high school, getting going down like a bad path and all this, right? So I think like when it all switched, right, there was one catalyst moment that everything kind of switched when I had a deep, profound psychedelic experience. And I realized that all the people I had been with, right, were just like really dark, kind of dark energies, right? And, just projecting all this stuff onto me that it just was never me, right? It was my child self trying to pretend to be an adult, right? And, once I kind of came to that conclusion, like I just cut everyone off. And I started going to music festivals, right? So there, I had, this other profound psychedelic experience where I realized, there's love in the world. You can love people. It's not everything is aggressive, like even aggression sometimes kind of comes out of love, right? It's like the whole duality. And, after doing that, I was going to a lot of these festivals, and I really became obsessed with this festival, Shambhala, right? In BC. Okay. So this beautiful festival, this magic festival in BC. And there, like once I had set my eyes on that, I realized I had to get out to the West Coast, right? I'm from Toronto, I'm from Ontario. And so what that looked like for me was I needed to get my grades from where they were, where I was like pretty much failing school, up to something that would have sent me to, one of the best universities in Canada, which is the University of Victoria. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, Shangri-La type place, right? The Victoria, right? It's on this island, disconnected from Canada, completely off the West Coast, as far west as I could get, basically, right? I was done with this East Coast nonsense. So, I set my eyes on that. And, one day, kind of walking back from a show in Toronto, I had no Uber, I had no money, I had no way of getting home. So I had to go from the show, which was this artist called Yeti, who's like this bass artist. I had to walk all the way from like the top of Spadina all the way to Union Station at like 3 a.m, right? And I'm just at this point, I'm like a 16-year-old kid, right? And I'm by myself, and it's 3 a.m in Toronto, and I walk all this, and in my mind, I'm having very kind of I'm having a very emotional response, right? Because I'm seeing, there's so many people out here that are like screwed, right? They're just out there on the street, like nobody's helping them. There's just like it's a difficult economic situation. It's a difficult political problem, right? That we don't have to get into right now. But like regardless, like once you're out there, you're screwed. Yeah, it's this. It's almost like a lot of human life is, be able to maintain a roof over your head, right? So, you know, kind of walking through this, feeling the emotional pain of these people, feeling the emotional pain of myself, somebody who's like out stranded, somebody who's always been, had a nice roof over my head. And now, I finally get to Union Station, right? I go to open the door and it's locked, right? So,
No.
yeah, it's locked and there's like cops outside, and I'm like, oh, I'm basically just another homeless person tonight, right? So I got to get back to my hometown, which is like an hour away by train. And so I do what every Canadian would do, and I walk to the nearest Tim Hortons and I set up shop, right? So it's open 24 hours. I'm relaxing now, right? So this gives me, till 6 a.m. I was able to get a ride back home, and this experience was very defining, right, in my life. It really showed me that, if you, depending on the path that you go down, you might very well be like facing yourself with, what is possibly like one of the darkest kind of roads that, a human being can follow, which is homelessness, right? So this was, after this, I spent every single day in the library just studying, like nothing like my family had seen before, like nothing a lot of people had seen before, right? Like even my outfits changed. Like I was wearing like button-up shirts. I'm like, I'm like hanging out with all the smart kids and everything, right? I'm like applying to all these universities. So that was like a huge catalyst. So that's kind of like where my high school experience ends, because I get accepted into the University of Victoria. Yeah.
Happy ending to that story. Yes.
yes. That's like that kind of begins that whole other saga, right? So I'm able to go to UVic by a very, very thin margin of, because I almost did, like my transcript almost didn't get submitted on time. Like it was all very, very kind of aligned by the universe to really just send me there. And the reason why I went there was because I had this dream, right? I had a dream at night that I spoke to my higher self. I had never had one of these like prophetic dreams before, and a very deep kind of real dream. I spoke to my higher self, and we came to the agreement that I had to go there, right? It was almost like he posed a question, I just knew the answer, right? So through this, I went there. At UVic, I was able to learn Python and meet some of the coolest people I know, and take this one class, computer engineering, which the professor, everyone hated this professor, right? But he's still my favorite professor to this day, because he really broke us. Like we were in there like 100 hours. I might have literally been in that computer lab 100 hours a week, right? So it was like a startup, right? He's breaking everybody. Everybody doesn't like him, but I'm like, oh, yo, this is what it's like, man. This is like breaking me down to my core, and really being
pushing
able to
you
project manage. Exactly. So with that, I gained that experience, and soon after COVID hit, and I was gone. I was back home, and that's where my token engineering journey really starts.
That's amazing. So, okay. So hold on. So let me get this straight. You start coding since you were 10, and it seems like you also have this life movement of going from Venezuela to Canada at some point. And then it seems like you fall in with a not so desirable crowd, but then you have this moment driven by psychedelic experiences where it kind of moves you to music festivals and you really feel like tapped in. And then you keep doing that until the 3 a.m. homeless event. And then that totally changed your life. And you started to go harder in the paint academically. You get to the university of your dreams, your academic Shangri-La, and then you're kicking ass. COVID hits, and then you come back home, and then you're introduced to crypto at that point?
Yeah. So I had been, I had been trading crypto since I was like 14, I'd say, right? So I had been buying Bitcoin and whatnot, right? Always interested. But what I get introduced into at that time, when COVID really hit, is financial botting, right? So here I am, my dream's always been, to be one of the best software engineers who's ever lived. And here I am posed with this problem. Hey, can you code something that can make money, right? Can you turn nothing into gold, right? And I get obsessed with it, right? I become very obsessed. I'm using this Python library, CCXT, and I'm even like contributing to this library. I'm completely obsessed, right? Like everything in my life is this, and at the time, it's just like one long Python file. Like it's a monstrosity. You can see it on my GitHub, and through that I entered this token engineering firm called Longtail Financial, right? And
As like a contractor, or like you start working for them?
I started working for them, actually. Wow. Yeah. So Longtail, they're building this framework, right? This AI financial framework, right? I never really worked with AI, but there I got to work under the master, Sean Anderson, who he's got a master's degree in data science, has done research into AI and a whole lot of things, right? So I'm working with like parameter optimization using this teapot library and creating this entire framework called Foxhound, right? So there I got to I learned how to master Vim, learn how to master Linux, and all these beautiful tools that really set me up, right? Once we get a little deeper, right? I've just built this really cool component of it, which is this parameter updating module, right? It's nuts, right? Sean really liked it. It was really, really nice. It was like a lazy parameter updating system. Once that happens, we get into Boson Protocol, right? We start consulting at Boson Protocol, right? We had been very involved with the token engineering community. We had been experimenting with CAD, which is a simulation framework made by Michael Zargum for systems and therefore token economic systems. So we get into Boson. Now we're simulating the Boson Protocol, right? We're using things like Token Spice made by Trent McConaughey. We're using CAD. Now I'm like a CAD developer, right? So I have to simulate these token economic systems. I'm looking at the contracts, and it's all blowing my mind, man. Like, if you guys look at the voucher at Boson Protocol on the GitHub, like that's an ERC 721 mixed with an ERC 1155. Now, how the hell do you do that, right? So that just like blew my mind. Okay, we have these different NFT standards that like we can mix. Like, what can we do with these things, right? So that was like my entrance into NFTs. Then I got to work at this other protocol, which I can't say much about, but then I got to work at Panther Protocol as well. Panther Protocol, which is doing zero knowledge proofs. Really interesting stuff. Those guys push this really hard, and run by a great crowd. You got Anish Mohammed there, who is brilliant mind. And then we got to work with the Paul Stamets team, right? So it's a circle back into this psychedelic culture with Paul Stamets, right? So Paul Stamets, are you familiar with Paul Stamets?
I hope that I'm about to become familiar with it.
Oh, sure. Paul Stamets is this mushroom wizard, magic man, and he has designed a way to save the bees, right? It's this fungal solution.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can check this out. He's been on Rogan a few times. He's got a documentary on Netflix. I believe it's called I can't remember the name of it right now, but I have seen it. And well,
so you're now working with this person.
Yeah. So we're working together. This has been like my idol for many years, right? And now being able to work with him and actually design a token economic framework to save the bees and propagate the solution across the world. I create a thing called proof of tree, which, it's still very much in the concepting, but this is like the idea of, rewarding people based on their refills of these things, sort of like mining. But if mining was going up a mountain and refilling a bee feeder, and then we have to follow some bonding curve situations where the more remote the location, the longer it takes people to refill it, the higher the price, right? So it almost turns the entire world into a scavenger hunt, right? Using this this framework. So doing that, I come to think, okay, how can we value these hives? These hives are NFTs. How can we value them, right? The solution to value any NFT, and this is where we are now, where we are today, in what some call the metaverse, or how do you value an NFT? Well, the NFT needs to have functionality. We've seen this with Bored Ape. We've seen this with what is now crypto gaming, NFT gaming. But what really values an NFT is how much functionality you can add to it. And in every game, you can only add so much functionality until something becomes OP. But the thing about crypto is different because NFTs don't just have to be in one game; they can be in multiple games. So the more multidimensional value that you add to these items, the more you can, the more value the item has in itself, right? So that is where MetaVision begins, and my journey as a CEO really starts.
Well, wait, so go into that more. Like, so you have this almost epiphany, and you're like, aha, this is how to solve the value problem, is by, instead of focusing on one game or one specific ecosystem, have it be multifaceted, where one NFT has X value in Y game, Z value in A game, so on and so forth. So that hits you. How do you then translate that into a business?
Yes. So I revisited my favorite games from my childhood, right? So my favorite company in my childhood was this company called Playfish, who, in a very Web 2 slaughter kind of way, got bought out by EA and just dissolved, right? So Playfish makes Facebook games, okay, social games. So they had this game called Restaurant City, right, where it's a restaurant management game. And it's very, very cute. Like, all the art is very like high quality. They have a very specific style. Brilliant art. So seeing this, I'm like, okay, well, this is my favorite game. How can we design this for Web3? Okay. And you break it down into a system. So this is a restaurant tycoon. You break this down. What does a tycoon need? A tycoon needs frequent earning. Okay, you're earning very, very frequently, and that's something NFT games don't have, because you're dealing with an illiquid market, which is the NFT market, right? So when gamifying that, you have to kind of take into consideration that it's a slow market. You're not going to sell everything immediately. You're not dealing with trading tokens on Binance or anything. This is not a super liquid market, right? So the way that we had to structure that was very different. We had a problem, and our problem was that we needed to simulate demand. Okay, every person is managing a restaurant, and customers, NPCs, are coming in and buying stuff from them. Therefore, these NPCs have to be simulated on a network level, because people are not going to be consuming when everybody is a producer, right? This is a crypto gaming problem that is fundamental. Okay, so how can we actually do that? How can we make the network actually be the consumer, right? So this is the spawn of CafeCosmos, right? The network becomes the consumer when people. So let me explain to you the loop. The loop of a tycoon goes like this: you buy items from the store. you are able to make more money, and you can buy more items. So the interesting part there is that the player is almost always going back to zero balance, right? They're almost always spending all their tokens, going to zero balance, and earning more and more and more. Okay? So what if, for a second, what if when players spend, that actually just pays out every other player, right? Depending on their actual output of their cafe, right? So what that is, visualized as a game, is an NPC coming in, eating some pizza, and taking off, right? So we've done it. We've simulated demand, right? Through all the tokens on the network being spent consistently, as a tycoon does, we can just use that as the payout, right?
As like a transaction fee on every time they spend, or like how exactly does that work, that mechanic?
Yeah. So we have a couple different faucets, right? Sebnem Rusishka was she's this wonderful token engineer, super incredible person, and she really nailed into my head the idea of value flows, right? So this all got designed into a value flow immediately, and it's like, okay, where can we take the facets out of this? So transaction tax is one of them, but also in-game item purchases, right? So when you purchase an item from the store, all that money, which is supposed to go to the network, whatever, founders might take a portion of it, none of that is taken. All of that is redistributed instead in this game. So it's almost like this zero-sum game, kind of like poker, right? Where money just flows around, gets taken and then redistributed, right? It's like this breathing organism. Okay, so the store is a big part in that. When you buy furniture, all that money is taken and redistributed.
In the form of customers coming into other people's stores and buying stuff.
Yes, that is the visualization of it for the player.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yes. So there's a certain amount of value in the whole ecosystem. How does, if it's being recycled through the system, like somebody buys an item and that gives them a certain amount of production, and which is equivalent to a certain percentage of the overall redistribution every time that happens, how does the overall value go up? And how does that incentivize them to keep on building over time to create more and more value and grow the whole ecosystem?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there is an emission going into the pool every block. So that guarantees that essentially every new block, there will be guaranteed customers coming into restaurants and paying, right? So how the value actually grows is, what happens is this: the more volume grows, it's one-to-one with the user, right? So the more volume grows is the more amount of users that are playing, right? So that equals the more tokens spent, and that equals the higher the payouts, right? So it's almost like this self-fulfilling loop, right? So yeah.
And so do the tycoons have the ability, instead of buying furniture or buying another upgrade, can they sell that?
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that work?
Yeah, so people can actually when you buy these items, so what's different about our NFT platform is that we don't have quantity limited NFTs. We actually have time limited NFTs, right? So it's kind of like a catalog, right? So an NFT will be available for, let's say, 6 months, where you can buy this specific chair for 6 months, and then after that it'll be locked, right? So it's not based on there's 1,000 chairs. It's based on that. So what that does is it allows us to keep the price extremely cheap, but there is a limitation, right? There is the limitation of you can't actually buy more items than you can fit into your place, right? So that keeps the value of these items at that base level of the store, right? So what's interesting about this is that with these time limited items that might be available for 1 hour, 6 months, 2 days, is that after they're minted, there's no more, right? We're not minting X amount, there's a time limited amount. If you get into that, right, let's say some time goes by and this is a rare item, say only 10 people are able to mint these, it becomes a valuable item, right? So even if you bought it with a soft currency, similar to SLP, which is the CafeCosmos token, you're actually able to take good profit from that.
So the idea is build up your production in your cafe, and then when these really rare NFTs pop up, you want to have enough powder to go and buy these so that over time they can appreciate in value. And are they still producing at the same time?
Yeah. So okay, I think the question here is then like, what is the relation between like the actual success of the restaurant and the production, right? So
Right.
That's like the fundamental part, right? So everything like the production of the restaurant, right? This is a formula. So the formula, and this is all on the smart contract level, and the formula goes that you're essentially taking how much people can produce, how many people like you're able to sit, how much what your optimality of your stoves are, and what recipes you're serving, and you quantify that into an amount of points. And these points are a share, right? They're a share of a pool. And this pool is this like self-fulfilling pool of people spending, and the pool gets that back, right? So essentially, the more you're able to produce, the higher share you have of this pool, and are therefore like able to raise this value for yourself, right? So instead of the tricky thing here, and the secret sauce is that now instead of redistributing based on balances, as a lot of these networks do, we're actually redistributing based on points, right?
Cool. And it's so wait, so help me understand this a little bit more. So the points are basically the efficiency or effectiveness of your cafe, which is, I'm kind of thinking of that as like your own little farm, your in-game farm, basically.
Yeah.
Like, so you're basically able to like build and upgrade and optimize your farm to accumulate the most number of points, or is it the most number of points or the most number of point production?
Yeah, so it is a number of points, right? So the production, the price of your items, of your recipes, right? Of what you're serving, if you're serving lobster bisque, so the price of these things all factors into that effectiveness quantity, right? So you're maximizing that effectiveness by being able to sit the most people, by having the most optimal stoves and most optimal appliances, and also having the highest valued recipes, right?
Cool. So are people buying in on the front end to get in and get their first, their first store or their first cafe rather, that then they can perform in-game optimization and actually play to then continue and grow and compound that value over time? Like, how do people enter the ecosystem?
Yeah, so good question. Right now, the plan is actually we've been building very heavily on the idea of a free-to-play, play-to-earn. So the way that we are structuring this now is, and we have still yet to see as this grows, right? It's not an ultimate promise, right? So the idea, the experiment of removing the entry of barrier is something that is important to us, as we are a social game, right? So how we're doing this, and maybe how future NFT games might want to approach this, is that we actually have non-transferable NFTs similar to tutorial items, right? So, like your wooden shovel in Minecraft or the wooden pick, right? So these tutorial items that you first spawn in with that are non-transferable, these items you can actually place down and start getting a certain amount of points, right? And the certain amount of points will guarantee this payout, right? This payout will come. So we're working on how do we deal with Gini coefficient? How do we minimize like a gap? How do we actually deal with Byzantine fault tolerance? So we've looked at Gitcoin for dealing with the Byzantine fault tolerance problem, right? So
And can you explain what that is and why it's important?
The Byzantine fault tolerance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Byzantine fault tolerance is essentially, if you have a game where you're earning and it's free to earn, right? Or you have a network like Bitcoin or anything where you have a $0 gas fee, right? Or like Solana, as we know, sorry Solana, but as we know, Solana did crash, right? And the reason why is because if you have this fee that's so small, people can actually spam your entire network, overload it, and essentially cause like a DDoS, right? So in the case of a game, if people create 10,000 accounts or 20,000 accounts, they can essentially be earning the entire network's revenue. For example, like in our game, where network revenue is being like redistributed based on your points, like people could essentially like make like 1 million accounts and earn all of the revenue, right? Leaving such a small number where it's like there's not even like a decimal number in Solidity to deal with this. So the way to fix this is a proof of uniqueness, an anonymity preserving proof of uniqueness. So things like Circles UBI or Bright ID. So these are actually like anonymity preserving, and even like less on the anonymity side, preserving things like proof of humanity, but even simple things like Twitter and GitHub, right? So these are things that you can hold your anonymity with and actually be able to prove your uniqueness. Now, you don't want to bar off users just because they haven't proved their uniqueness. So what you do is that you give them point boosts, right? So it's like you get a point boost if you're if you link a GitHub account, or if you link a Bright ID account, you get a certain amount of boost, right? So you're essentially boosting people who are authentic and kind of leaving all the bots behind by a large quantity.
That's cool. So, okay, so you're letting people get in, you're giving them the ability to come in and earn. And so essentially, like, you're rewarding people for playing and becoming the best at optimizing their cafe. They're earning points. These points are then giving them a greater share of the redistribution, which is in the form of customers. So the better they do, the more they're going to earn. So it's a nice compounding feature that they can grow over time. And then they're able to actually pick up real world value outside of this specific verse by having NFTs that they're able to earn and use both in game, but also sell out of game. And so that's how we're linking there. What if somebody's like, all right, I've been a cafe owner now for 5 years. I'm ready to retire. I want to exit the ecosystem and retain as much value as possible for all of my time. What does that off-ramp mechanism look like for those people?
Yeah, absolutely. So you could sell your cafe, even though your cafe is given to you for free. You could at the end sell it, right? So that includes all the items that you have stored within it, and all your yielding mechanisms that you have within it, which we can get into as well. So that would be your retirement, right? So we are experimenting with lending, and maybe like lending a cafe. There are certain things that you have to do to maintain these items, right? So that is a big experiment that we're working with right now, is NFT maintenance, right? So there's a few different things that you can do to kind of retire from the game, right?
Cool. So at what stage are we in the life cycle of this project? Like, do we have like a significant amount, like what's our player base, daily active user or daily active tycoons, or however we're gonna frame it, like what stage are we in this process here?
Yeah, so we're still developing. All our smart contracts are done. I'm working on upgrading them, working on some really cool new features that we'll see as they come out. So right now, we've got some really talented game developers working on this. So we've been actually working on this since May, right? So we're really pushing to get this private beta out. in the next couple weeks, allowing some people to kind of come in. You're invited when we do, and
Yes.
and just really observing kind of like what the interaction is, what a natural interaction is between people and our game, right? We want it to be a very satisfying game, like Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley. Like these are some of the most like important influences that our game has had.
Cool. And so how many people are on the list so far that are going to be a part of this initial closed beta?
Yeah, so it's a list that's increasingly growing. Right now it's an internal team list, and some of our advisors as well. So Will from DeFi Alliance, we've got to work with DeFi Alliance, who's like, man, these guys are so great. I couldn't recommend them more highly to any new project that's really innovative and wanting to kind of be accelerated. So just very internal kind of list right now. We've got 18 people on the team. It's a fast growing team. Lots to do on like many different fronts for sure.
Okay, so we're still super early on in the project here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've done this for 6 months, and I think like ideally like what we envision the game to be will take like another 6 months, but we want to start onboarding people and showing them the ropes, really kind of understanding what a satisfying user experience is like, right? So it's
Cool.
a long time in the crypto world for sure, man. 6 months, like it's like how many years, right?
Yeah, but still in the game development life cycle, I mean, a AAA game, I mean, I've heard some stories of it taking up to 9 years to fully develop a working title. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to grill you here. Like, I'm just curious because,
Yeah, for sure.
I think for people, a lot of the people that listen are investors, or they're looking like to get into projects really early on. Um, this isn't, this is an example of, your project is an example of one of those that people should have on their radar and should get involved and learn more about, because, for the average degen investor, like looking for the 10 billion x gains, like you got to find projects early. So I'm not trying to say that you're
no worries,
degen at
no
all.
worries.
I'm just saying, like, there is a group of people who are looking for that. There's also a group of people who are looking to invest in really cool technology and innovative products, and they just want to get in early, and they're sophisticated investors, and then there are gamers who are looking for a cool new game to get in on the ground floor of. So there's a lot of different people that I just want to kind of put it out there. Like, you want to be looking for projects super early on. And this is an example of one of those products. So, I really appreciate you coming in and talking about that, and sharing, and being super transparent about, hey, we're early, we're working on it. We have our beginning team, and we're just starting our closed beta. So yeah, I mean, it takes, first of all, it takes courage to say, where exactly we are, and be really honest about that. But everybody has to start from somewhere. So that's like the way that it goes. You can't you can't get to 100 billion users if you don't start somewhere. So like, the people who are like, oh yeah, no, we've been doing this for 3 months, we already have 10 trillion daily active users with, it's like, all right, get out of here. Like, come on, that's not real. So
For sure.
yeah, so I think it's cool. So help me understand where you see this going. Like, what is your goal with the project? I'm sure you talk about that with your team. Like, what are y'all seeing as far as the future?
Wow. So really for the future, I think like, the vision behind MetaVision is really that we're at a very early stage in NFT gaming, right? NFT gaming, when we came into this, and there's like a lot of turn-based games, and I think we're seeing less and less of that now. But to me, that was like the 90s, right? And maybe we're kind of rolling into the 2005 era. But I think when we maximize when we maximize our ability and our knowledge of how to apply DeFi into games, like for example, right? So our project, our team, our, you know, some of the founding team actually came together because Balancer hired us through the Token Engineering Academy to implement Balancer v2 in Python, right? So Balancer is a beautiful project, right? You have what, you know, before was 50/50 AMMs. You actually have, you can have up to 8 tokens inside of one pool and trade between them, right? It is absolutely amazing. Now, NFT games are clearly not at the same level of sophistication that this is at, right? For some reason, NFT games have not really brought in what, you know, is like the brilliance that that Balancer and DeFi has been able to bring in yet, right? We're at an early stage. We're at a degen stage, you know, just straight up, right? But that's fine. But the vision for MetaVision is how do we bring in the same brilliance that made Balancer, this block science kind of push for humanity, these research papers and all this into NFT gaming, into DeFi gaming, these complicated systems such as the Ocean Protocol system or Balancer, the same level of brilliance and complexness that is on those projects. Like, what happens if we apply that to NFT gaming, right? So I don't think that I don't think the industry is like close to even there as so far. I think we'll see that in the next bull run, honestly. But at MetaVision, like, we're working to actually get there before that time. But it will be a very organic process. It'll be a very, you know, you can't kind of jump forward in time so much, but you can try. You can try to imagine it. You can try to predict something that, you know, when the first 50/50 AMM came out, just from there, imagine Balancer, right? And can we really say that NFT gaming is at the same level of complexity as a 50/50 AMM? I don't think so, right? I don't think so, but we can try to get there, right? We can try to make NFTs work in this magnificent way as DeFi has gotten, right?
Cool. Yeah, I think so. You know, I've heard a lot of like predictions of or estimates of like where we are in the crypto gaming world. And the easiest way for me to like conceptualize that personally and to explain it to others is like comparing it to the price of Bitcoin. So like I've heard a lot of comparisons of like where we are in crypto gaming right now is roughly between a $75 to $100 Bitcoin. And as of the recording of this, Bitcoin's around 60K, roughly. So, I mean, as we're speaking, we're in a tiny little crash here, but that's beyond the point. So like getting into something when it's, let's just say it's $100 going up to 60K, like over years. I mean, we're so early on. It's really a beautiful thing. And yeah, of course it's going to be degen in nature right now. Of course. Like you can't think about early on in the history of the United States when we had cowboys that were just going out and like conquering the West. And obviously I'm not getting into the whole there's a lot of things there that could, you know, be touchy subjects, and we're not getting into political correctness at fucking all. But what I do want to illustrate is like people were going out and they were literally taking a flag and sticking it in the ground and being like, I claim this as mine. Yeah. And then they were and then they were going and like selling it for like thousands of acres for like $10 or something crazy. Like we're so early on. Yeah. And so it's exciting to hear that your perspective is, hey, we know we're early on and we're preparing for when it does become big and does go mainstream, and we're going to be building now because we want to be ready for that. Like that to me is a really healthy perspective on that. So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm very appreciative of your time. I want to be respectful of it. So just have a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it on up pretty soon here. But I want to get your perspective on the future of the metaverse as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the most interesting way I've heard it described by multiple people now is it's going to be fucking weird, and it's going to be weird in ways that we can't even comprehend yet. It's just going to be strange and weird. Like, I've heard that a lot. That's made me chuckle because, like, what does that even mean? But what do you see as like end game for the metaverse, all pun intended?
Yeah. It's an interesting question. The concept of the metaverse, I've seen it be defined in so many different ways that I'm very skeptical towards it, right? On LinkedIn alone, we had like this whole like just so much of basically people saying that everything is in the metaverse. Oh, Roblox is the metaverse, Minecraft is the metaverse. We've got everything on the web in the metaverse, like, all these things. Like, I saw like YouTube is the metaverse. I'm like, dude, like, I don't think we need to redefine what the web is. Okay. I think we understand it. So the metaverse, in terms of like, let's just look at like what Facebook did, little bit of like kind of mainstream topic right now, but they either got two routes, right? They either make this decentralized with interoperability, or they don't. If they don't, then it doesn't really matter because it's not really a metaverse, right? I don't think there's like people say like they're building a metaverse. I don't really believe that. Okay. There's one metaverse, and that is called blockchain, right? So it's the rebranding of blockchain, and we're back to 2017 where I can do a pitch to you about blockchain and get a bunch of money out of it. That to me is a little overhyped, right? So, but what I think is powerful, what I think is like really the future, is this idea that you can take an NFT from Cometh and you can bring it into Decentraland, or you can take that same NFT and bring it into Chibi Legends. Shout out to Chibi Legends. Like, you can interoperate completely without anybody's permission, right? We're on chain. We can bring any token we want and bring it into our platform. Dude, if we wanted to, we could literally like take like, a cool NFT, like Doodles, big fan of Doodles. We could take Doodles, we could animate them, and now Doodles are in our game. And, I mean, is there something anybody can do about it? Like, I don't know. I guess there's like a copyright thing there, but like that's all like pretty gray area with NFTs anyway, right? So it's like, it's really interesting to kind of see this like interoperability play in. Okay. And if you're not interoperable, it's not the metaverse. Like, Roblox is not the metaverse. I'm sorry. It is not. Like, or Minecraft isn't either. You can't bring a shovel from Minecraft on one server to another. Like, that doesn't exist, right? So like, we have to kind of really reevaluate what we understand as the metaverse, because it's like, if it's meta, that means that there's something going on a higher level, and that higher level is transportation, right? You can transport something from here to there, right? That is a true metaverse, right? So I think like, people are getting like cash in their eyes, kind of like, some some Krusty Krab shit, right? Like, and it's like, yeah, it's like we need to kind of just reevaluate what the actual metaverse is and what the opportunity is. And I think the opportunity is interoperability.
I will forever love that term. People are getting cash in their eyes, like some Krusty Krab shit. Because everybody knows what we're talking about with that.
Yeah, literally.
That's awesome. But yeah, like, the future is 100,000,000% complete game agnostic existence, where we can go from game to game, and the power lies with the gamer and with the assets that the gamer owns, and just being able to kind of port those very fluidly from like section of the metaverse to other section of the metaverse. Because I agree with you, like, the metaverse is the big thing, and everybody's individual verses are like little things that exist within the greater ecosystem, and everything needs to eventually talk to each other. And like, there should be a portal where you jump in the, like, you go and you're fighting this orc over here, and you kill the orc, and you take its tooth, because it's like a magical tooth that it stole from a dragon that it like whatever. And then you take that magical orc dragon tooth, and then you go bring it into your cafe, and you can use that as, because it glows, so you can put it up in your in your chandelier, and you have now a glowing dragon tooth that you can then say, hey, more customers come because nobody else has this sweet dragon tooth.
Yeah.
Like that is definitely the future.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for it.
100%. And the thing is, this can be implemented now. And that's what we are really working on, right? We can take tokens, we can do so many things. We can take tokens, craft them, we can create bonds and turn them into NFTs. Like there's so many things that we can do with this interoperability that it's not even scratching the surface. So it's like, am I worried about Facebook? Like not at all, right? If they're making a centralized verse, like why do I care, right? It's almost irrelevant. Like, and I just don't see like, I have an Oculus upstairs, right? I have a little brother. I have an Oculus upstairs. Nobody uses the Oculus, man. So like Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know. I'm sure people use it, but like nobody in my house uses it. So like from a consumer standpoint, like Mark Zuckerberg, don't tell me like, you just found the next big thing, when it's like, I know we're not there yet, right? I know we're not there yet. And this interoperability has to exist. Otherwise it's not meta. It's just a verse, right? So to say like, oh, Fortnite is a metaverse, you know how many times I hear that Fortnite is a metaverse? I'm like, dude, you can't bring stuff from Fortnite into another epic game, right? Like that should be simple, right? That should be simple stuff, but it's just not even there yet. And you can't bring your hat from Fortnite into Team Fortress 2. Okay. So these companies don't know how to behave, right? It's up to the DAOs, and it's up to the creative people, and it's up to us degen developers to really, really kind of say, all right, we're sick of this, and just build it how we want it.
I love that. Well, dude, I'm so grateful for the time that you've shared on the show today. I really do appreciate it. Where can people go to get involved and learn more about the project and be super, super, super early on in the life cycle of the CafeCosmos?
For sure. Well, you can check out our Twitter, CafeCosmos HQ. You can check out our MetaVision Twitter as well, MetaVision Labs. We got metavisionlabs.io, and join our Discord through Twitter. You'll find everything you need to. Join our Discord, come chat. We're gonna be having office sessions in the CafeCosmos Discord, and really kind of touching base with everybody, showing off some cool stuff. We got a lot to show that we've been keeping in storage, but it's about time. And with the sudden crash in the market, like it's like it's OG shit, man. Like homies, back to Biddle, so yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And to everybody who's watching and listening, thank you all very, very much. And I will see you all on the next episode. Take care now.